Good evening. I'm going to call the Rights of Way Subcommittee meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. First matter on our agenda, well, I'd ask that the record reflect those that are in attendance, council members. And first matter on agenda is approval of the minutes from August 22, 2023. A motion has been made by Mr. Gagnon to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Reynolds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Staff report.
No staff report tonight, Mr. Chair.
Next matter is in the matter of Spring Avenue Extension, CRMC file 2020-11-084. It's down for a third revised proposed schedule, an extension from the 10/27/23 to 12/1/23 for exchange of expert reports. Who's going to report? Attorney DeSisto or?
Well, actually, I'd like to have the attorneys come on up. Because this is a request, I think from Mr. Farside, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Be honest, I don't remember exactly who initiated.
I think a joint request, that's how I would compare it.
Okay.
Joint.
Okay.
Right, it was something we all agreed to back on October 27th, so we've been abiding by these new timelines for over a month now. And the biggest change was pushing the initial exchange of expert reports to December 1st, which we are still on track to meet. If there is a December 20th expert witness and statements and transcripts to CRMC deadline, not going to stand here and say that's set in stone at the moment, but we haven't discussed amongst ourselves whether we can meet that or not. But this is the order we're currently working, the schedule we're currently working under.
Is that acceptable to all the parties?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Just to add a little bit, we have, the parties have begun depositions, and I believe in December they'll really start in earnest. There's quite a list, so we are hopeful we can get a big chunk done in the next couple of months.
Do you have an anticipated time that the hearings can start before the subcommittee? I'm not going to hold you to it, just for planning purposes.
Well, to give a really roundabout answer, as a lawyer should, the proponents for the public right of way have disclosed 9 witnesses. They've disclosed 9 witnesses. We've disclosed, I believe, 25 in support of the district's position. So far, only 1 witness has been deposed. I don't know. We've asked to depose all 9 of the witnesses the proponents have disclosed, and we're ready to do that. I have not received any requests from the proponents to depose any of the witnesses we disclosed as of yet. And on top of that, I can assume that once we get expert reports exchanged on Friday, there's going to be an impetus to want to depose each other's experts. So depending on how much discovery the proponents want to conduct, and how many of their witnesses will volunteer for a deposition at this time, it could be a number of months yet, I believe.
Okay.
So he was referring, excuse me, I think Joe was referring to lay witnesses when you indicate those numbers, right?
Yeah, the numbers were lay witnesses, correct. Fact witnesses.
I don't mean to monopolize the discussion, but I do have some questions from a procedural standpoint, if that's okay. So the 9 witnesses, are they spread among Mr. Rubin, Mr. Schultz, and Mr. Conley?
They've basically been, their testimony has basically been offered by my client, Mr. Contrada, the 9 lay witnesses, which have already diminished. I think we indicated that there was one that definitely was no longer available, and I think there might be a couple of others that would fit that category. But those were all witnesses that were recruited by Ms. Contrada.
Okay. Is it anticipated that town officials for the town of Westerly will be deposed?
As of now, no.
Okay. Now, Mr. Forsythe, you have 25 witnesses that are not experts, they're lay.
Correct, fact witnesses, correct.
Okay, and the document, and the reason I'm asking is because we've received press inquiries. Those names were redacted,
Correct,
and those are for lay witnesses.
correct.
Is there an objection to any of the other parties as to those redactions? Or perhaps you've gotten the non-redacted list?
We've gotten a non-redacted list.
Okay.
So, you know, I did agree to the redaction. We wanted to be cooperative. Kind of regret it, but a deal is a deal, so.
That's correct. We have to afford the proponents and their counsel a chance to see who the witnesses are and do whatever investigation they want to do and decide if they want to depose them. So that's correct. A lot of these witnesses are elderly and are aware of but not in tune with social media and how that sort of provides a gateway for publication of their information and comments about them. And we're willing to come testify at an open hearing if and when that becomes necessary. But in the meantime, wanted to protect their families and their addresses from being disclosed unnecessarily.
Is there an objection from the Attorney General of the town of Westerly?
Mr. DeSisto, I'm not sure exactly. The Attorney General's office is not looking to necessarily post or publish these names. I don't think that's necessary. Obviously, the Attorney General and CRMC will comply with the applicable statutory provisions with regards to APRA requests and other requests. But the Attorney General's office is not looking to publish these names or push to publish these names at this point.
And then Bill Conley, on behalf of the town of Westerly, I agree with the position that the Attorney General's office just put on the record. But I would say that there is an expectation that there will be definitely, despite the redaction of their names upon presentation, that there will be depositions taken. So I agree with Mr. Farside that with a 25 of them, it does add some time. Not suggesting that we want to take 25 depositions, but I do anticipate in conferring with the parties that there will be depositions taken of probably a good number of those witnesses.
Well, before us, we have two government attorneys that are very familiar with the Access to Public Records Act, a retired government attorney who's also familiar with it. Just so you know, the agency has gotten a lot of APRA requests here on this particular issue, and we responded as best we can. This is an open issue. The question is we complied with an APRA request as to the list of witnesses. All we got was redacted, the redacted list. So we don't know who those witnesses are. The question has been raised as whether or not that's appropriate under the Access to Public Records Act. Just so you know, that could be an issue later on. And the determination might be that the names have to be disclosed. As of now, the agency doesn't have that, and we've responded in that fashion.
Thank you. And for clarity, we included the Attorney General's office in the town when we made the decision to ask for this redaction format and submitting the material to you on a deadline we agreed. So there was no objection at that time, understanding, of course, that they're subject to APRA, as is the council.
And of course, I mean, just to, I know that you know, Mr. DeSisto, but just for the others, our witnesses were not redacted. The witnesses that were proposing, those have been available. I believe you have those.
Correct, and if unless I'm mistaken, that has been subject to an APA request and that has been disclosed. Yeah, I beg your pardon for asking so many questions, but I'm done.
Any questions, Mr. Gagnon, Ms. Reynolds? Jeff? No. Anything? All right,
If I could just volunteer a response to a question that you hinted at, Mr. DeSisto, when you asked if we were going to propose town officials, and the scenario that we anticipate in terms of presentation of this case, and I'm obviously not asking for a ruling now, nor would it be right, but we have a very highly qualified expert researcher, archivist, and records management professional who has interviewed the various town officials in the course of collecting their records. And we're hoping to get their comments, not subjective comments, but their understanding of their extent of their records through that expert. Obviously, there could be objections on that, and we might end up having to call some of those people to authenticate records, but we anticipate being able to authenticate the records through that expert witness.
Okay, now, are they affidavits or otherwise sworn?
Well, the witness, obviously our expert witness will be subject to cross-examination and so forth, and will have made reports and so forth based on her interviews, and she would attest that these interviews are the types of matters that experts in her field usually rely upon.
Is there an objection from the town?
No, not at all. We've said since the beginning, we'll make town officials and all town records fully available. The part of, at least in part, is that we want to be as available as possible now, but so that it may not be a need for any, or if some nominal testimony for records authentication, so that in anticipation of trying to be as efficient, expeditious as possible during the actual hearing.
Thank you. I think the only action for tonight is an approval of the revised schedule, and perhaps set the matter down for control purposes for the a subsequent meeting either in December or at the beginning of January.
okay. So we'll be seeking a motion for that.
Correct, yes.
Is there a motion?
A motion to approve the revised schedule
Correct, yes.
made.
Motion been made by Mr. Gagnon,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Reynolds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Let the record reflect the unanimous, Mr. Gomez as well. This here, let the record reflect the unanimous vote on that schedule.
Do you gentlemen need anything else tonight?
No, Bill said.
Thank you very much.
We'll get back to you as to scheduling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're ready for motion to adjourn, right?
Mr. Langseth would like to speak, if that's okay.
Relative to that.
Richard Langseth, Budlong Farm Road in Warwick. As you know, my petition is next, and I find 25 witnesses to be quite a number. And I hope that we can limit it, because perhaps they find more witnesses, We're gonna have a public hearing, these people can come forward at the hearing. I don't know why we're going through such formalization to have 25 witnesses before the hearing. So, let's keep this in mind, let's scope it down a little bit, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other matters to come before the subcommittee? And entertain a motion to adjourn.
So.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Bang, bang.